sources said Monday some 150 Yemeni pro-government soldiers and Houthi rebels have been killed in a week of fighting south of the strategic port city of Hodeidah. Impoverished Yemen is mired in a devastating conflict between Houthi rebels and government forces that has left tens of thousands dead and sparked a dire humanitarian crisis. The latest clashes in the Red Sea port city of Hodeidah are the most violent since the truce negotiated in the area by the UN came into force in 2018. Occupation warplanes attacked very early Monday morning areas in the south of the Gaza Strip, causing heavy damage to property but no injuries. News reports said that an Israeli warplane fired two missiles at a location east of Rafah, causing fire and destroying it in total, and at an open agricultural area, causing a deep hole in the ground and damage to the site. Another warplane fired two missiles at a location near of Khan Yunis, destroying it and damaging private property. Israel claimed the attacks came after two projectiles were fired from Gaza into the sea and fell near the southern Israeli coast without causing any damage or bodily harm. Syria announced it would import more crude oil to cover fuel shortages it blames on Western sanctions that disrupted regular Iranian oil shipments that had for years compensated for the country's loss of domestic oil production as a result of conflict. The sanction-hit country has over the past year faced months of gasoline and fuel shortages, forcing it to ration supplies distributed across government-held areas and to apply several rounds of steep price hikes. Prime Minister Hussein Arnous did not specify how Syria would secure extra supplies but said they had already imported 1.2 million tons of Iranian crude oil that cost, along with petroleum products in the last 6 months, around $820 million. U.S. defense officials say they are worried about an insider attack or other threat from service members involved in securing President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration, prompting the FBI to vet all of the 25,000 National Guard troops coming into Washington for the event. The massive undertaking reflects the extraordinary security concerns that have gripped Washington following the deadly January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol by rioters. And it underscores fears that some of the very people assigned to protect the city over the next several days could present a threat to the incoming president and other VIPs in attendance. South Korean President Moon Jae-in said U.S. President-elect Joe Biden should hold talks with North Korea to build on progress that Donald Trump made with leader Kim Jong-un. President-elect Biden takes office on Wednesday amid a prolonged stalemate in negotiations aimed at dismantling North Korea's nuclear and missile programs in exchange for U.S. sanctions relief. President Moon, who had offered to be a mediator between Pyongyang and Washington, said he will seek an early chance to promote North Korea as Biden's foreign policy priority. India's health ministry said on Monday a total of 447 cases of adverse event following immunization after the COVID-19 vaccination have been reported over the past 2 days, out of whom 3 required hospitalization. A statement issued by the ministry of those who were hospitalized. 1 was discharged from the Northern Railway Hospital in Delhi within 24 hours. Another was discharged from the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in Delhi, and 1 is still under observation and is being monitored. The adverse reactions are being closely tracked through India's existing surveillance framework, especially in the context of questions surrounding the safety of Bharat Biotech's Go vaccine. A mass coronavirus vaccination campaign begins in Russia on Monday. Russians willing to be vaccinated can choose between 2 vaccines, Sputnik V and Epivac Corona. Russian President Vladimir Putin on January 13th handed down instructions to move from large-scale vaccination of at-risk groups to mass vaccination. Head of the Federal Service for Surveillance on Consumer Rights Protection and Human Well-being, Anna Popova, emphasized the need to carry out a vaccination campaign in a way to make sure that mass immunity formed before the fall season. According to her, 60% of the country's population needs to be vaccinated this year. China has reported more than 100 new COVID-19 cases for the sixth consecutive day, with rising infections in the northeast, fueling concerns of another national wave ahead of the country's biggest holiday. The National Health Commission said in a statement on Monday that a total of 109 new cases were reported on January 17th, unchanged from a day earlier. Of the 93 local infections, 54 were reported in Hebei province that surrounds Beijing. Northeastern Jilin province reported a record 30 new cases, underscoring the risk of new clusters emerging. Coronavirus infections in the Philippines have surged past 500,000 in a new milestone, with the government facing criticism for failing to immediately launch a vaccination program amid a global scramble for COVID-19 vaccines. The Department of Health reported 1,895 new infections Monday, bringing confirmed coronavirus cases in the country to 500,577, the second highest in Southeast Asia. There have been at least 9,895 deaths. The Philippines has been negotiating with 7 Western and Chinese companies to secure 148 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine. The United Kingdom will step up its mass coronavirus vaccination program this week, offering shots to millions more people as the country shuts its borders to anyone who has not tested negative. Vaccines will be offered to people aged 70 and over and those deemed clinically extremely vulnerable from Monday, the third and fourth priority groups. Prime Minister Boris Johnson called it a significant milestone in the vaccination effort. Brazil's health regulator gave emergency approval for 2 coronavirus vaccines, kicking off a mass inoculation campaign amid a devastating second epidemic wave killing over 1,000 people in the vast South American nation daily. A 54-year-old nurse in Sao Paulo became the first person in Brazil to receive the Chinese CoronaVac jab after the Anvisa watchdog's highly anticipated ruling. Health Minister Eduardo Pazuello announced the government would start distributing vaccines to all 27 states on Monday for a national inoculation campaign to start Wednesday. Medics battled exhaustion and the risk of COVID-19 as they raced Monday to treat scores of people injured by a devastating earthquake on Indonesia's Sulawesi Island. At least 81 people were killed and thousands left homeless by the powerful 6.2 magnitude quake that struck early Friday, reducing buildings to a tangled mass of twisted metal and chunks of concrete in the seaside city of Mamuju. Masked doctors treated patients with broken limbs and other injuries at a makeshift medical center set up outside the only one of the city's hospitals that survived the quake relatively intact. Global emissions of the potent greenhouse gas methane from oil and gas production dropped 10% in 2020, mainly because of lower output as opposed to concerted climate action, a report by the International Energy Agency found. Methane has more than 80 times the warming potential of carbon dioxide in its first 20 years in the atmosphere and is liable to leak from oil and gas infrastructure such as pipelines. Other industries, including agriculture, are also big methane emitters.